Welcome back to another episode of the Two Dates and a Dash podcast. I'm your host, Matt Cubbler. On today's episode, I interview retired Lieutenant Colonel Otis Mcgregor. He's a former Green Beret, the founder of Triad and Purpose, and the host of the Cam and Otis Show. Now sit back and relax and enjoy this episode of the Two Dates and a Dash podcast. What is up, podcast land? Welcome to another episode of the Two Dates and a Dash podcast. I'm your host, Matt Cubbler, and before I introduce this hard charger, Otis Mcgregor, I want to first tell everybody where they can hear the podcast. Pretty much anywhere audio podcasts are found. Stitcher, iTunes, Pandora, iHeart, Spotify, wherever the hell you listen to a podcast, that's where you're going to find Two Dates and a Dash. All that I ask is that you subscribe and then hit the automatic download button. That helps me and helps you know when there's a new episode coming out. If you want to find me on YouTube, where the videos lie and reside, I guess is the better word, you can go to Matt Cubbler. That's my channel. And all I ask there is that you subscribe as well, and then hit that little bell thingy-majiggy, and that'll tell you when a new video comes out, like this one when it comes out tomorrow. If you want to learn more about me personally, you can go to mattcubbler.com or twodatesandadash.com. And if you want to learn more about the book I wrote 16 years ago called A Brother's Love, a Memoir, which is my life story growing up with my autistic brother, Andy, older brother, who had a severe stutter and sadly was killed in a car accident in 1989. You can learn more about my brother's life through my eyes by buying a copy of that book anywhere books are sold. You can also go to my website, mattcubbler.com, and get a copy there through Amazon. So I think that just about covers everything we need to do to start this bad boy off. So without further ado, Otis, what's up, buddy?
Hey, man. Good to be here, Matt. Great to have the opportunity to chat to you.
Gonna be fun. So, I told you a little bit beforehand that I don't really have a plan. I kind of do that intentionally. And anybody that watches the show or listens to the show knows that. I know the highlights, right? The things I could grab off the internet, the things that are on the click here, but what it tells you, you were a lieutenant colonel, retired lieutenant colonel from the Army, Special Forces, Green Berets. For those that don't know, that's what Special Forces are. You are a ambassador. That's a big fucking word, dude. For the Green Beret Foundation. I'm not an ambassador for anything. There's probably a reason for that, and it probably is because I may not be always the most presentable. So I don't think ambassador's ever in my future. You are the founder. I'm guessing that's the right term for Triad and Purpose. Right. And we'll talk a lot about that, I'm sure. You're a coach, executive coach, business coach for people. And the thing that I'm most interested in, and I don't know if necessarily this is what you want to talk about, you're a high school rugby coach.
Retire or on sabbatical right now from my high school rugby coaching time.
Wow. I have a nephew. He's black, so he's not really related to me. But every time I say he's my nephew, and then I put a picture next to each other, we're both bald. And I'm like, can't you tell the family resemblance? It reminds me of like, what was the one with Denzel Washington was the football coach. Remember the Titans? Yes. And the white kid's in bed, and they said, "Oh, I'm sorry." When his teammate who's black wants to come in and says, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's only for family." He's like, "Martha, can't you see the family resemblance? We're brothers." And so my nephew's a professional rugby player, and
really,
he's currently playing. He's on the academy team for the Austin Goldronis for the MLR, and he may be getting signed by the Seattle Seawolves. They're currently looking at bringing him on, but got some international opportunities. But former football player who turned rugby, and I'm learning a lot about the sport. I did know that the numbers on the back of the jersey coincide with the position. Wasn't aware of that.
Big one. That's a big one. Yep.
Right. Like, who knew?
Yeah.
No other sport does that, unless, there are certain parameters when football, like linemen are within this range of numbers and things like that, but never a specific number for a position, which is interesting. And I'm still figuring out the whole rules component. He plays Union.
Back to the jersey thing. Did he talk to you about how you have to earn that jersey? It's not yours. That's why your name's not back of it.
Yeah. There's a lot of cool things that rugby does culture-wise.
Mm-hmm.
That I never played rugby a day in my life. I don't even know if I knew anybody that ever did. It's just not big. I'm out in Philadelphia, and there's just not rugby here. It's not a thing. So I'm learning a lot about it. I appreciate the fact that you can play professionally in just about every continent, and you can do it into your late 30s. So there's not like this, and you would think when you're not wearing pads that, colliding human beings would cause more injuries, but it's actually a rather safe sport.
It is, and just, you can play rugby for life. There are old boy clubs. I mean, I coached for 5 years, having never played the game, coached for 5 years before I played my first game as an old boy. And yeah, I thought I was going to die because I tried to play like I coached my high school boys to play. So I'm running around the pitch, work rate, hard headed, got to be that guy. First one there, first one to the ruck, and then the next, into the next phase, oh my God. 15 minutes into the game, I thought my heart was going to explode. I just had to take a knee. It's
an 80-minute game.
Huh?
Of an 80-minute game. Like,
yes.
It's no joke.
Oh yeah. And well, remember, I was playing old boys though. So we were probably 30 minutes,
All right.
30-minute game, but I was still ready. I was like, where's the beer cart? Because I ain't making it any further. It was, yeah.
Well, listen, I want to dive into all of this, and who knows how this whole thing is going to go, and we'll figure it out as we go. But I asked one question to every one of my guests, and it's this way because I want to find out how you view yourself versus what I could glean from the internet or whatever bios written up probably by somebody way smarter than either one of us, or that has way more artistic skills than we do. But I like to know who, at the moment that we're interviewing, the person believes they are. So the question I have for you, and I ask everybody, is who is Otis McGregor?
Well, I'm a husband first, and then a father. Learned that a long time ago. Keep those two straight. And then I'm somebody who likes to help people succeed at what they want to do. It is helping others create their own success, not what I think their success is, but their own success. And that's what fuels me. When I started doing that as a business, with Tribe and Purpose, I reflected back and realized, even when I was in the Army, that was the way I led in the Army was, whether it was the guys on my ODA, my Operational Detachment Alpha, and helping them get promoted or the next job or whatever, or, in some staff job that I was in a support role and had guys working for me. How do I help those guys get, promoted, whether they're in the military or even just a government, employee? How do I set them up for success? And I just didn't realize that until I had that moment of wow, this is who I am, and this is what excites me and fulfills me. I mean, it's why I'm standing up. When people ever ask me about that and I'm sitting down, I got to stand back up because I get so excited about it and helping people, have what they want, whatever that crazy thing might be. Have what they want, not what other people think they should have as success. Helping them define it and then achieve it. It's really, that's what Tribe and Purpose is all about.
I love your, whether you clearly said it was a definition or not, but it is a definition of what leadership is. When I mentor young kids because I believe old people don't interest me as much because they're too hard to break down and rebuild. I'd rather start with the moldable clay before they get fucked up, and rather than trying to change, decades of bad learning. But when I try to get kids to understand what leadership is, and because there's always this mystifiable component to leadership, especially to young kids. They think it's a title or a position or a person, rather than an ideology or a principle or a feeling within you. And ultimately, it's helping someone else find success without wanting anything else in return. It's what selfless is, right? That's leadership. So I think your definition of it and my definition of it really are the same, which is good. And I think you find that in general, especially in the world you're in now, and helping high level people and even just average people achieve success. You see this servant leadership component, I'm sure, in every one of them. People that are seeking out help typically have a servant heart. At least that's what I seem to find. How about you?
Yeah, I agree. Leaders, and I want to jump on something too, because it's become kind of a pet peeve of mine over the years, is the phrase servant leadership. Like there's leaders who aren't servants. And I see that it's faded a little bit, thank God, because I think it's BS. Because I challenge anybody to come up with somebody that they would point to and say, that person is a leader who doesn't serve. Point to somebody who is that person, because they don't exist. So every person that is a leader is a servant leader, because they want to help others do more. That's, as a coach, a sports coach, one of your jobs, in that leadership role as a sports coach, is to have the players do more than they think they can. Help the players achieve that championship that they dream about, that they talk about, that they say they want. Help them understand what to do. And the same thing goes, with me as a business coach and an executive coach, is how do I help them get better? And when it's somebody that hires me, they're hiring me so that they can get better, so they can help their team get better and achieve more. It's somebody that's all about themselves, Mr. I wanna, Mr. I'm the only one, ain't never going to hire me or any other executive coach, because all they care about is their own success.
I think, I agree. Yes, I agree. It's an overused term. I think the only reason I use it in a lot of examples is because for kids, which is the ones I'm trying to help them identify what a leader actually is, who haven't yet figured out what their purpose is on this planet yet, let alone, how to make others better. When they understand the word serve, and what does that mean, and what is the correlation between service and leadership? And I think when you're dealing with adults, my expectation level for adults is very low, because I find most of them to be lacking the breadth of knowledge on the world to really inspire me to be involved with them on any deep level. Most adults who are wanting to become leaders will do the things that are necessary to seek out additional growth opportunities. Whereas the people that aren't, who think they might be leaders, I don't even waste my time having a conversation with them, simply because I don't see that quality in them, or else they would have already sought out someone like you to help them grow as a leader and as a person.
Yeah, I agree.
Go ahead, sorry about that.
I would just throw in another aspect of it, of leadership, is an attitude of continuous improvement. How do I make myself better so I can serve more, so I can help more? That's another big aspect of being a successful leader, is how do I continuously, not, okay, got that done, read that book on leadership, or took that course on leadership, I don't need to do anymore, I'm good. No, you got to keep going.
It's an intentionality. I think many people that, and just in general, you go on social media, you can just see the different types of people that are out there, whether they're putting up a facade or not. As a human behavior expert, and that's my background, understanding how people think, feel, and act, I can see through most of that, and where you see a lot of people out there who aren't willing to be intentional in their lives, whether it's being an intentional husband or an intentional father or intentional police officer or business owner, an entrepreneur, whatever it is, doing it with an intent and a purpose, with the explicit knowledge that every day is a new day to work harder and do more to become better. And there's only a certain, and I wish it was a larger number. I don't see that the pool of prospects growing. If anything, right now I see that pool of prospects shrinking, which is a great opportunity for true leaders to really stand out and make something, right? But I don't see this pool of greatness growing as we speak, especially not over the last couple of years. I just think that fear porn that's been pumping through social media and the media and government and politics has put a grinding halt to the creativity and the growth component of humanity. And people have regressed dramatically. Our kids are regressing academically and socially, and there's so many things happening all at once that is, grinding the gears to a halt. And then we have to restart that engine. And as leaders, that's our job, to create those opportunities for people who are willing and wanting to get out of that stagnant world we're in right now and get up and grow. Have you noticed that you've had some people that have found themselves, especially through this last couple of years, in that muck and mire and just sort of in a rut, that are looking to get out and are seeking you out?
Not in the sense of seeking me out. At least not that I've noticed it in that aspect, but I'll agree with you in part on that. And in the larger sense of, it's damn hard to be a public figure. Whether you're in sports world, politics, you name it, whatever, public figure, because it's so easy for the faceless people to accuse you of something, whether you did it accidentally, intentionally, or you did it when it was still deemed an okay thing to do in the culture. And I think that, kind of what you were saying about the fear of it, I think that is a huge thing, because who wants to? I mean, who wants to put up with that shit? I mean, that BS. I mean, think about it. They don't, and then these faceless, nameless accusers not only accuse and attack you, but they attack your family. And that's, as a family man, to think about, if I'm out there in the public and I say something and somebody somewhere, is offended, and they start to do the whole thing, and they start attacking my wife online, they start attacking the kids online. It's like, whoa. I didn't sign up for that.
Well, that happened to me. You see that sign up there? I ran for state office here in Pennsylvania as a last minute write-in candidate. And shortly thereafter, things went bonkers. And, I am not even in the same hemisphere as political correctness. I just don't live there. I'm intentional with what I say, and I know what comes out of my mouth and why it comes out of my mouth, but I really have zero interest in whether or not somebody is offended or cares or I hurt their feelings, because when I say something, I meant what I said. So I know it's got possibilities that come off of that. And I got canceled. I'm no longer on social media allowed. I've been banned on every social media platform there is. Not because I've done anything wrong, but simply because the cancel culture came after me and came after my wife, my children. They went back to 2008 when I first opened my Facebook account and took every single thing I possibly could have posted, whether it was innocuous or intentional, and then turned that into something relatable to today. And as a police officer, in addition to running for office, that caused problems. Mm-hmm. And so, I am living proof on a very small scale. I'm certainly not Joe Rogan, but although somebody did leave a comment on one of my posts on one of my podcasts and said he's no Joe Rogan, but give him time. So I'll take that. But I understand the metrics behind it and the intent, whether it's against some small podunk cop and outside of Philadelphia running for state office, or I'm an international celebrity. The intent is the same. And the process by which it happens is the same. So you're absolutely right. Who the hell would want to live through that?
Yeah.
There's a reason why people go off the grid, right?
Yeah, there is. And I believe that's a heck of a contributing factor to leaders, people who who truly want to serve, truly want to make a difference, of why they don't get into politics to be that person. Because God, I sure as hell wouldn't. I mean, I can't remember half the stuff I've done when I was younger. I'd hate for somebody to start digging and find out, because it'd be like, whoa,
Right.
you know, that is, you know, it's unfortunate is the way I put it, you know, and what that means to me is it's our responsibility, those of us who choose not to walk that path, to hold those ones that do accountable, and in whatever way, you know, other than don't be that nameless, faceless person on social
Right.
media, but be that person who, you know, whether it's by voting or protesting properly, all that. Yeah, I don't like talking politics. You can tell I'm fumbling with words because I just
It's all
don't,
good. And
I don't
it's
like it.
the world we live in is just, you know, and as someone who, you know, achieved the rank of lieutenant colonel, that's not, you know, that's not only is it a time requirement, but it's a level of proficiency and leadership quality that allows you to rise through the ranks and achieve those promotions. So, you know, we are in, and I'll leave the topic on this. We're in a world right now where leadership is the only thing, that and moms are the two things that are going to get us out of this. Is true leaders who have the fortitude and the ability to operate in chaos and be able to have 40,000 things going on at once, but still focus on the triage components of what's the most important thing that needs to go on right now at this moment. That's how this happens. That's how it ends. That's how we get back to some semblance of normal. And that's what I continually strive to put out in whatever very limited ways that I still have left to share, is that leadership is the ability to rise when fear is the single great, because we're not, you and I and mom and the guy down the street and the person that's in the White House or in Congress or anywhere else, fear is the same emotion that runs through each and every one of us. It's just how that fear is processed and utilized is the difference. Mm-hmm. And I did a TEDx talk and the topic was chaos. And I talked about being in a shooting and that all those things that are going through your body and your mind right before you pull the trigger. And that fear is the overwhelming emotion because you're worried about all of the things that could come from the finishing of that one little mechanic movement of pulling a trigger, you know, 2.2 pounds of pressure. And the thing that's coming out the other end, of the business end of a gun, it could change everything. Mm-hmm. And in that split second, you've got to decide what is the right choice based on the situation you're in and your experiences that you've had and the training that you've had and all of the things that have culminated to this moment. Are you making the right choice? And sometimes you make the wrong one. But how you handle that chaos is the difference maker between the leaders and the people who are stuck in the world of fear and are paralyzed by it.
Yeah, and I'll say to add on to that, as a leader, your job is to create hope. And if you don't believe that there is hope, then you can't solve the problem as a leader. And if you cannot sell that hope that you believe in to your team, then your team will not believe it and they will not function. So a leader's job, one of the leader's jobs among many, is to create hope and believe, truly believe in that hope, you know, with all their being, that yes, I am going to make the best decision I can in the moment that I have to, when I have to, with the information I have available, and believe in that decision and believe in yourself. Give me, I'll bear with me, because it leads me to one of the things I really believe in, and I call it the trust triad for leaders. And that is part of it. As a leader, I have to believe that every decision I make, I trust myself to make the best decision in that moment. And then the next part of that triad is I have to believe in my team to do the job that I hired them to do. Otherwise, why the heck do I have them? So I have to believe in their performance to do the job that I'm trusting them to do when I make that decision, that I trust myself to make the best decision. And the third leg is when I get those two right, the third leg is my team trusts me. They have unlimited trust in my ability to serve them and lead them to the best outcome, to that hope, to it will get better. We will solve that problem. We will win that contract. We will overcome whatever this obstacle is and get there. That's the trust triad. Trust yourself, trust your team, and your team trusts you. And, you know, it's just so much an aspect of being successful as a leader and having that, creating that hope, and then trusting yourself, trusting your team trusting you. Man, if that stuff doesn't exist, then you ain't leading.
That's applicable in so many different, I mean, business and military, in your home, you name it. That triad, literally, I trust my wife trusts that I'm going to make the right choices for our family. Collectively, she and I are going to make the right choice for our family. And my kids believe that whatever mom and dad say is going to be okay. Then we're going to be fine. And then ultimately they trust us. And I think that is, first of all, it's brilliant. And then second of all, it's such a usable example for your life. And I think, you know, we tend as human beings to complicate things, and, you know, keep it simple, stupid is a thing, because quite frankly, we tend to not keep it simple, stupid. So we need to figure out how to make things digestible and understandable and relatable and then applicable. And that triad you just created is something that someone can use and it makes sense. Like, it's not too complicated. It's not a whole bunch of frill and thrill behind it. It's just a very simple, not difficult thing to understand. And I hope the people listening can really take that one little piece right there and use it in their daily lives. It's really every once in a while we have some good shit that comes out on the show. And thank you for that. So as a leader and as an entrepreneur and as a coach and a veteran, is there any one part of your life where you go, the single greatest period of growth I've ever experienced occurred during this period? Because I have a distinct period of growth in my life that I know this is when shit started to make sense and when I really started to put the pieces together.
Really, in an aspect of, I kind of see it in two pieces. One, as a brand new active duty lieutenant, as a platoon leader in Alaska, the lessons I learned there, and there's still some decisions I've made or actions I took then that I think back on and go, damn, that wasn't the right way to do it. But, you know, I've learned that and I've carried that forward. And then the second one is more modern times, of when I made the decision to become a coach and, you know, an executive coach, and made that shift in my life, and in a hobby consulting business, and made it my full focus. It still continues to be just like, wow, okay, tweak this, turn that sort of thing, and learn how to grow a business from, you know, being Otis Incorporated to, you know, a couple of employees that, you know, team members that are, you know, counting on me to get things right for them. And that's huge. That's huge. And one of those employees is my youngest son. And then the other one is his best friend. You know, there's a lot that's not a, you know, just some dude off the street that I'm, you know, sending a paycheck to keep the website up sort of thing. These are very close team members, that, you know, I care tremendously about. Not that I wouldn't of anybody, but there's a whole nother level of it. And the growth I've had in that and dealing with that, and just in the last year, because that's when we started to pull it together and grow to that next level with our business, it's been huge. Yeah, it's been a big shift for me.
That's a great point, because I mean, I'm an entrepreneur. I used to have 3 gyms that I ran and owned. I have 4 patents on equipment that we manufacture, have multiple employees. So I understand how hard it is to run a business and then have people that rely on your success and the collective success of the team in order for them to continue to get a paycheck and provide for their life and families in some cases. But it's even harder when one of those people is your son. Mm-hmm. And your son's best friend, who I'm sure you've seen grow up, and you have that connectivity to beyond just employer-employee relationship. The thing that I think people fail to recognize is how hard it is to be an entrepreneur, and the risk reward component to that. I can tell you of all my failures in the entrepreneurial world. I can tell you where I literally, it was the best plan and it looked on paper like it was going to be a home run, and then it shit the bed and it didn't materialize into what it was supposed to be. When you made that decision to go from Otis Incorporated, the hobby, to a full-blown venture, was there trepidation? Was there talking to your higher power, consulting with your family? Like what was that transitional moment like to go from I really need to turn this into something more and go all in?
Yeah, I mean, I thought about it, talked with my wife a lot about it, probably prayed about it a couple of times, and then like I do with almost every decision I make, it's like, all right, fuck it, let's go.
Yep.
Let's start moving. Let's make it work. And we'll, one of my biggest strengths and biggest faults is I'm a damn good planner. I can put together the best plan in the world, but I'm also the worst person to go back and reference that plan. What did I say we would do at this point? I don't remember. No, let's just execute. I think my life in the Green Berets, in that sense of, here's your op order, and the old phrase, it's kind of like the Mike Tyson. It's the military version of the Mike Tyson one. Everybody's got a plan and they get punched in the face, right? Well, the military, the Army, it's no plan survives the line of departure. In other words, no plan survives up past the enemy shooting at you. And I think that is an interesting aspect that's been drilled into me. So, I'm not saying don't plan. What I'm saying is the plan is critical, but it's also not the limiting factor, because reality is what you have to react to. The plan is full of assumptions and guesses. So I don't think I might have drifted out there.
No, that was actually spot on. And I can relate completely. I'm the king of wing it. And we talked in the beginning how I don't plan for my podcast, because I work way better when I'm under pressure and there's no clear direction or plan for the show. And my life has been pretty much that. I manifest a lot of things through visualization, through years and years of just believing this is where I'm going to be. And how it got there is never how I dreamt it from the beginning, but the end result is always where I expected to be. And if I'd learned, you said your own strengths and weaknesses. I know one of my weaknesses is that I'm a control freak, and that I don't like to give up control or allocate responsibility. And I certainly don't have a high level of trust in others. It's not something I'm proud of, but it's part of who I am. And it's always been that way. And it goes back to my youth, and there's a whole lot of backstory to that, but I don't trust simply. It's not something I just give away. You have to really earn that with me. And as an entrepreneur, that's not always the best formula for success. And however, where I've had my wins, in the entrepreneurial world is when I really just focused on my own contribution to the task, where I was able to truly immerse myself all in and risk me. Those are when I've had my wins. When I've had to worry about, and this is, again, goes back to my limiting capabilities in certain things, when I have to weigh in other people's effort and risk and how all in are they, that's when I would fall, because I was never really focused on what I was trying to accomplish. I was trying to make sure everyone else was where I was at in my level of commitment. Own the business. I always wanted my managers or my gyms to own the business. I could never get them to own the business because it's not theirs and they didn't own it. And it's great to say, I want you to be all in and I want you to embrace everything that I embrace, but it's very difficult to actually get someone to truly believe it. And when I just focused on the things that I could do, those are when I had my wins. Did you ever have and I don't know if it's a leadership inadequacy or not, but do you ever find yourself where you were falling short because you were redirecting your energies and attentions away from the things that you need to accomplish?
Oh yeah. Jeez. Yeah. 15 minutes ago. I mean, it's that we find ourselves in a, and we, in the general sense of peoples, in that aspect of, let me just do this thing over here rather than doing that bigger, heavier thing or making that excuse. I've got a couple of talks I'm doing, stage talk sort of things in the next few weeks. Well, I've done some prep work for it, but I tell myself that, I only got 30 minutes here. So let me go take the trash out, or let me go do something. Cause those things got to get done too, as opposed to what's that really important thing. Goes back to what we were talking about earlier with being intentional, right? What's that thing that I got to do that I should do, and then force ourselves to do it? Because man, it is, it's snowed not that much. I don't have to do it today, but you know what? If it had snowed another, I don't know, an inch and a half, another 2 inches, I would probably be making the excuse that, hey, I gotta go out and I gotta plow and I gotta, when really, no, you don't. No, you don't. There's other things that, yes, that needs to get done, but there's other things that are much more important to get done. And I think that's from what I've seen personally and clients I've worked with over the years, it's much easier to do that. Well, let me just get a quick win. I worked for Admiral Bill McRaven, and a great guy to work for. And those of you who don't know him, if you go to YouTube and just look up his commencement speech at Texas University about making your bed, there's a lot to be said for that. And I'm not going against what the Admiral said, because there's a lot of stories I could tell about that. But what I'm saying is, when it's time, you got to do the hard stuff too. Quick wins are great, but man, you got to do the heavy lifting if you want to. If you truly want to do what you say you want to do, and not just talk about it over beer. If you truly want to do it, you got to do the heavy lifting too, whatever that is. But whether it's let me spend some hard thinking time on this. Let me write this email to this person I really don't want to respond to, but I need to do those hard things too. You got to.
I think that part of that comes down to resiliency, right? There's a lot of people that aren't equipped to do the hard things, not achieve that first time, and then find a new way to attack that hard thing again, and maybe a different way, and find a way to achieve the goal. And I think, part of being a leadership coach and an executive coach, I'm sure, having, a much different world with kids, but teaching that, or I don't know how you do it with adults, but to figure out how to, whether it's inspire or educate, or I hate the word motivation because I think it's such a externally driven requirement for most people, when it should be an internally driven requirement. how you get resiliency to become a trait of someone who has had many years of clearly not being resilient. I don't know how you do that, but I think part of being a leader, especially, and you just look at the military is kind of a, an audience that you have regardless. They're going to have to be there, right? Whether it's PT or doing an op or whatever the case might be, they're there. So whether it's training or whatever, but getting some of them to push past those obstacles. What are some of your, without giving the voodoo away or the special sauce, what are some of your techniques that you use for adults to help them either reacquire or acquire some of those necessary skills and traits to become successful?
Well, it starts with they got to know who they are first. You can't lead anybody unless you lead yourself. So understanding who they are, getting that understanding of how they show up, what affects them, what challenges them, and starting to understand that. That's, to me, that is one of the biggest steps. And when we start to understand that more, then it gives us an ability to understand how others think and act and look. Because now if I understand myself and truly understand who I am, have that mindfulness, that self-awareness, then I also develop a skill that I can start to understand, well, I could see how that person may see it differently. Because as a leader, and you touched on this, as a leader, part of your job is to get that person, in your team motivated, your managers that you mentioned. That's a great story. And by the way, that is what every business owner says. I want my people, my team, to operate like they own it. Everybody wants that. Mm-hmm. The secret pudding is getting them to do it, right? So it is how do you get that individual team member to buy into what you said, that hope, that vision, and have that intrinsically in them. Because think about it, salary, benefits, the job, those are all external. If somebody's working for you and doing a decent job for you based on those external things, the extrinsic values, somebody offers them $2 more an hour, they're going to jump ship and take it, right? But if somebody believes in what you're doing, they believe in that company's mission, they believe in that company's purpose, and the core values align with their core values, and they believe in you as a leader, back to the trust triad, they trust you, that becomes intrinsic. And that is much more valuable for them than an extra $2. I mean, that's, now, is there a secret sauce? No, but it's the, how do you convey that message? How do you communicate to that person? How do you show them that what they do is valuable? Because, and I'll bounce out to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We have to have, part of our needs is a feeling of contribution and significance, right? And so if Joe, the janitor, understands that by keeping the floors clean, our customers are happy and our customers like being there and our customers will spend more money, therefore our business will do better. Therefore, Joe has more opportunity and Joe might get that pay raise, Joe might get that bonus or whatever, or might get that promotion. If he understands that, that's a whole nother story to, I'm just mopping the floor because this is what I get paid to do.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it's a fascinating, human behavior is fascinating, and figuring out, individually, as a leader, what individual personalities within your team, how they need to be spoken to, how do they listen, how do they hear things, what are their motivators, what are their key components to success internally for them, what are their traits that allow them to be successful in whatever it is you're asking them to do. It sounds difficult to do, but if you can break it down and coach somebody through it in the proper way to where it's in digestible pieces, that's how most people get that light bulb moment where they're like, oh shit. All right. That makes sense. How do you get someone? And I think the hardest part, at least I'm envisioning with adults, the hardest part is that self-awareness component.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that inward look at the honest inward look at who am I? You know, it's part of the reason why I asked the question, who is Otis Mcgregor? And because I want to know who you think you are and where you find your value and where you self-identify as. How do you do, is there a process, a metrics by which you take someone through from beginning to end to get them into that self-awareness component?
Yeah, I've got a tool that I use. It's called the Energetic Leadership Index Assessment. And
the reason I kind of, and not to interrupt you,
yeah,
I was 99% sure you did. And,
yeah.
and I want you to explain what that is. And I'm going to explain how I, and almost in the exact same way, use this almost probably very identical type tool.
Yeah. So this is it's an assessment, you know, and what it does is it measures your energy levels in that moment. And it spits out two answers. What your operating energy level is and what your reactionary energy level is. And the enlightening part of that is to see that most of us, you know, and I'll give you just a quick positive and negative energy, right? And then there's 7 levels and 1 through 7, 7 highest, 1 lowest, right? Most of us, out of all of the 100 plus, to include a large group of cops, operate in that 3 to 3.5. Interestingly enough, huh? How about that for the bell curve? But that same number, when something happens, go negative. And it's a reaction. And that's the secret. That is the element of change that I help the clients understand and get control of, because it can be something that pisses you off and you mope about it for weeks and it drags you down and you just live in that shit mire for an extended period of time. Or what I teach people is what a good leader is going to do when something doesn't go right. You know, you make this decision, we're going to move out and make this decision, and something doesn't go right. The first thing a good leader does is look to themselves. All right, how could I have done this better? Me personally, decisions, information, those sort of things. All right, got it. I need to do this, this, and this next. And then if we're a good leader and we want to create hope, we look and we say, all right, did Joe, Bob, Sally, or Fred, did they screw anything up? How do I help them get better if they screwed something up? And then the next step is, well, maybe I could see how an environmental effect that was out of our control. And then we continue to move up the positive scale. And a good leader, somebody who doesn't waller in the mistake, very quickly goes through this analysis. What did I screw up? What did they screw up? All right, I see these other effects. How do we get better? What's the next opportunity that we can grow on off of this? And that is that key element. And, you know, I use examples, you know, everything from road rage, you know, somebody cuts you off on I-95. What are you going to do? Chase them down and teach them a lesson on how to drive, you know, flip them off, honk your horn. Really? Really, you're going to make that person drive better next time? How do you know that person wasn't in an emergency situation for their family? Their mom's sick in the hospital and dying. Hell, their pet poodle's in the back puking all over the seat and they got to get it to the vet. How do you know that? How do you know that's not why they drove that way? So, you know, I throw those things out there to get them thinking and start to realize, because when we shift to that intentionality, we shift to that realization that, damn, that thing pisses me off. Okay, why does it piss me off? All right, how do I know when I'm going to get pissed off again? What are the indicators that event that I'm about to get pissed off again? And how can I, if I choose to, how can I head that off before I get pissed off? Because when you're pissed off, you don't see solutions. You only see problems and blame.
That's kind of almost exactly what I thought you were going to say, which is great. My next follow-up to that question, and it's only because, so for me personally, working with kids, and in a world where we're in the instantaneous gratification age, if I were to give them, and I use a company called, my buddy owns it, he created it, it's called Intermetrics, which is they do a disc and then also a values attributes index. And I combine both of them in when I'm mentoring kids. The test is the end. The evaluation is the end. The scientific data points are at the end. So I work them through a process of discovery, of self-discovery, based on my, I try to challenge myself to have the best evaluation of their personality profile, and discovering them through proper question and answer sessions, and probing and trying to put them in uncomfortable situations to see what their values and attributes would be, to work them through that self-reflection component. And then at the end, and the whole time we're taking notes and keeping information. And then at the end, when they get take their DISC profile and their values and attributes index profile, it validates the self-discovery that they went through. And it forces them through the process rather than giving them the answer and then having to figure out how any of that makes any sense in their life. I work through it that way. How do you approach adults, since I don't work with adults on that level, in the same similar type of aha moment?
Well, the quantification helps. So, not only do they have the two scores, kind of overall scores, but we also go through where they're kind of the percentage breakout of each of these energy levels, and where they sit, because and then I explain, much more in depth in those energy levels. Ask them for references as I educate them, because the personal stories always help resound, get it into their understanding. That helps them hone it. And then one of the things I challenge them all with, and is to just do a tally, a personal tally, because the assessment itself is a snapshot in time of who you are in that moment. What I challenge them to do next is to tally up the pluses and minuses of each day for a week during the day. 90% of the world still carries around a notebook, right? And all you got to do is put a plus or a minus in the top right-hand corner every time you kind of feel that, oh, that was kind of cool. Boom, plus. Oh, man, shit. Really? Again, minus. And you just keep a tally of that. That little exercise right there, whether you take the energetic leadership index assessment or not, is an immense eye opener for developing that awareness. Because holy crap, why was I got pissed off about that? Damn. Or wow, that was pretty cool. Oh, cool. And you just start to understand how you allow things in your life to affect you, because you get to choose. In case ain't nobody told you yet, you get to choose how things affect you. You're in a bar, somebody walks up, punches you in the face. You get to decide, do I punch them back? Do I smile? Do I leave? Do I say, oh, you can't hit, you hit like a wuss, or what? I get to choose how I react. Nobody's making that choice but you.
I think that goes back to intentionality. So, if you're forcing them to keep a plus or minus day, a tally of the week, it forces them to see where they weren't being intentional. And that's, a code word for control, right? So how are you not controlling your responses? And that's no different than if you're trying to help somebody, and, I was in the personal fitness, strength and conditioning world for a long time, and helping somebody understand why they're not losing weight, or why they're not getting stronger, or why they're not running faster, jumping higher. Like, there is typically a level of intentionality that's missing in certain components to that formula of success. And I think to anyone out there that's trying to figure out why they're struggling in any area, the things we're talking about today are not secrets, right? They're not They're readily available information. All you have to do is ask the right person. And
buy the right book too.
Right.
I mean, I'm serious about that. There's plenty of these. I've learned a lot from all these books back there.
And that's part of that intention. If you read a book, you intentionally devoted the time to do that. And if there's a word that anybody should ever live on a daily with, is intention. And that's that. If they live with intention, whether it's good intention or bad intention, at least they intended to do it. I think there's some level to understanding that if you are an asshole every day, at least if you're intending to be an asshole, you've accomplished your mission. But if you're trying to be a better husband or a better father or a better employee or a better cop or a better entrepreneur, whatever it is, intentionally understanding how you do that and how you control that through your initiated actions or your reactive actions is really vital to success. And that's just the basic. If you can break it down any simpler, that's the basic formula for success. Is when you have an idea of what it is you're trying to accomplish and you intentionally live each day with the purpose of doing that. And you may not get it right, as we've talked about today. There's plenty of examples on how to screw things up, and how as leaders, we're not always right.
Yeah.
But as a leader, being able to make those adjustments and being able to identify where errors were made and where things can be tweaked in order to maybe reinitiate the mission in a different way is vital. Listen, I don't want to hold up any more of your. I know we said about an hour. We're coming up on that hour mark. Where can people find you? What's the best way for them to find you to learn more about all the stuff you're doing with Tribe and Purpose, through the Green Beret Foundation, your speaking engagements, and anything else you have going on?
The first source I'll give you is tribe-purpose.com, our website. And then if you want to be connected, you want to stay connected, when you're on that page, click the Get Started button, and it's going to pop up another page, and there's a newsletter. And I call it Monday Moments, because I'm really creative, because it comes out on Mondays. Yeah, how about that? Really stepping out into that risky area. It's a great way to start off the week. It's something I write every week. It is a Stoic quote, something I learned, planning thought, business idea, veteran opportunity, and someone I met. Sounds like a lot when I spew it out, but really it's less than 2 pages. And I'm passionate about sharing what I learned, because I'm a believer in if I'm not sharing what I've learned, I'm being selfish and keeping it. So if I can, I love it when people sign up for that. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty much the only Otis Mcgregor out there. Dad is a OW Junior, so just look for Otis Mcgregor. Yeah, I think that's probably the best 2 ways. Go to tribe-purpose.com and click that Get Started button to sign up for our newsletter. Like I said, I'm passionate about it. Love sharing those nuggets of information with everybody.
Love it. I will make sure that stuff goes into the show notes as well, so that everybody, if they're listening to this and didn't have a pen handy, all they have to do is go into the show notes and be able to see the information on how to get in touch with Otis. And learn more about all the great things that he's done and continues to do. Hang tight, don't go anywhere. We're going to talk offline, you and I, but I just wanted to, first of all, thank you, Otis, for being on the show today. It was enlightening. I love sharing time with people who are passionate about helping others, especially those who are proven leaders who have, a resume to back up the things that they're sharing. That's really important to me, that, not everybody, there's a lot of people that are coaches out there who may not have all the tools necessary to get the job done. But when you meet somebody like Otis, who clearly has the resume and the pedigree to back up the things that he's helping people with, it's impressive. So thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
Everybody, thank you for listening and watching this episode of the 2 Dates in the Dash podcast. I am your host, Matt Cubbler. Once again, if you want to learn more about me, go to mattcubbler.com or 2datesandadash.com. You can buy a copy of my book, A Brother's Love, a Memoir. You can learn all about my career. If you have a kid that needs some mentoring, I'm your guy. I pretty much stopped doing the public speaking only because COVID pretty much shut that down. But if you want to have me in, I'd love to share. I'm a one-trick pony. I share my life story with my brother. That's what I talk about because that's the thing that means the most to me, and it's the reason why I get up every day. So everybody, thank you. God bless, and go out and be kind to one another.
In the sandbox, like brothers we became. From matchbox cars to playground scars.